Hi, it's Michael. I'm here to give a bit of a show and tell on my PC and the Radbox that I built and have been using for years. I've noticed recently that external radiators are coming back into vogue, maybe not in a big way, but certainly Mora and a couple of brands are showcasing some large radiators that they've got. They're really nicely made actually, and I think they've got some great fit outs for them. Uh, I do think that they're still bringing some of the compromises with them that they've had in place for years, that their designs don't overcome. Anyway, my Radbox is completely built from scratch. I constructed the main body out of MDF, metal tube, and it began life as quite a plain black painted box. I am an airbrush artist as a hobby. I kind of got tired of building PCs that were all about how the inside looked with flashy lights and neon and other stuff. I guess I was into that before RGB became a thing. Now I tend to like computers that are quiet, powerful, and that still manage to look nice. The look nice bit might be a bit controversial here, but if you imagine that I had an entire room at the time where this was living that was a steampunk theme, it was an actual library. So I had the old-fashioned full wall of books with a ladder and a lot of brass, sort of dark neo-Victorian type stuff. So the style for the computer fit it very well. I then airbrushed the radiator box as well. So I'll start externally and then look inward. If you're not into airbrushing, that's all right. The idea here is that it looks like riveted plates with some corrosion. I've got a temp sensor that still looks like a cheap 10 sensor. Small reservoir, I don't remember the brand. These were for sale probably 15 years ago. These old gears, I had a whole collection of different types and put them together. It's my first attempt at doing anything in resin. So I painted all of those up and then bathed them in resin just to fill that and mounted it. I think it turned out nicely. I have a removable manifold for the fans. For quite some time now I've been running 440mm fans. In part that was because none of the 180mm ones were any good and there wasn't anything larger. Noctua now have a 200mm fan, so I might do the sums and see how they go in terms of fitting the amount of space that I've got here. If I can get more airflow out of those with the same or less noise, then I think I would look at upgrading. But I'm actually thinking of moving this so that it is on the other side of that little wall that ends there. There's an alcove on the other side, and if I run the lines through, then I can have this on the other side of that wall. It can pose underneath some of the other artwork I've got. I can run it harder and I won't hear it. So that's something I'm giving some thought to. I'll take the lid off and show you what's inside. And I'll explain some of why I've done what I've done. All right, so we have a Phobia 1080 radiator and then a Black Ice Dual 140, which is quite thick. In the bottom, a EK Dual D5 pump top and two PWM D5 fans. I have tried the Aqua Computer, I think it's Aqua Computer, who did a variation of the D5 with a ceramic shaft rather than a ceramic ball bearing, and yeah, didn't like it. So I've gone back to a traditional D5. You can see the small reservoir that I've got here, the single lingering surviving LED from 2006. So some of this stuff's old. I'm old and I've been at this a long time. The inlet and outlet are at the base, and I've kept the tubing just at a minimum. My concept here is that I wanted a pressurized vessel, and consequently the airflow out of each radiator would just equalize based on their resistance to airflow. When you put fans on a radiator, if you put them right up against it, you are creating, one is a dead zone where the motor and the fan is, and two, you're introducing layers of turbulence and resistance and back pressure that all varies based on where along the fan blade you are and the shape of the fans. So I've avoided all of that by creating what amounts to a sealed vessel. So I pump air in and it escapes through the radiators. It might not be an optimal arrangement with respect to each of the radiators. However, it does seem to have in practice worked out quite well. The delta with my temperatures has always been sort of less than 5, and I'm usually barely even driving it at all. If I ever needed to alter the arrangement between each of these with relation to the resistance, so let's say that this was just allowing air to piss out through here and while nothing was being used for this one, I can actually use a filtration media in front and increase the resistance for airflow through here, which would then drive more out through this one. I just haven't bothered doing that sort of test and evaluation, because when I've got it running and I just subjectively assess the airflow, it seems pretty even. Alright, so that's the end of the Radbox tour. If we come across to the computer, it's a modified Be Quiet case, and again it was airbrushed to fit the same theory that I had with the Radbox. I've got a M-disc reader here, Blu-ray burner. This thing is amazing for ripping my UHD discs. Does a really good job, and it will do them at maximum speed, not read speed. This one is an old bay for hard discs. That's painted the same as one of the builds that I did in a Mountain Mods case, Horizon case that I did a while ago. That was probably one of the most fun ones that I've done. That had a really cool paint job on it. So this is airbrushed just to look like normal plate steel for treads and such. On the side, electronics, my attempt at a plasma ball. Now if we open this up, I have a 4090 on water block, 9700 CPU, AMD, again on a water block. You can see what I've done here is keep the water cooling activity in here to an absolute minimum. So I've come out to outlets where I've got 2 compression fittings, and then I go to quick disconnects. At the moment, these are like first gen coolants. They're old as hell and they leak, and they're a hassle when I disconnect them. So at the moment I'm going through the process of getting some of the 6th gen ones, which are their current ones. I'm using 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch tubing between the radiator and the PC for lower flow resistance. And inside I'm using, I think it's 10/16, which is pretty much the standard at the moment that you'll find for Corsair or anyone else. This is the EK, is it NZT? Something like that. It's EPDM. EK don't make it anymore. That's frustrating. So I'm hunting around for a new one, and I don't really want to pay for Tygon, which is just a buttload of money. The single cable that I run through here, I use a DIN connector and a multi-core cable that carries the fan power, the pump power, PWM for the fan and PWM for the pump. And that's it. I don't use any other smart control at all. I just use the motherboard fan controls and set up my curves based around the temps for the devices on the board. So there you go, and you can see what I mean. I haven't really done anything internally to sort this out other than what I've altered to maximize airflow and make it reasonably efficient. I use Noctua fans pretty much everywhere I can. The little fan is for a, I've got a 10 gig SFP Plus module. I use optical cable between this PC and my main network setup. And being designed, that's an Intel X710. It's designed to go in a 1RU server really, so it likes more airflow than this case gives. So I have the little 40mm fan firing away there. It does a good job. Apologies about the video bouncing around everywhere. That is the tour of my computer.